The ice is letting go. For millennia, it was a blue silence, a world of drift and pressure, of frozen timber and long winters. But now, where scientists once expected nothing but ancient snow, instruments are drawing lines, straight edges cut across a sea of curve. From space, a neon skeleton appears beneath the white. Grids, angles, long rectangular corridors where glaciers should be smooth. On the ground, a field team trudges up to a hummock and brushes frost from a carved stone. Worked, the conservator whispers, not natural. Around them, sled dogs strain at their lines, and reindeer lift their heads from sparse tundra grass, animals that have lived alongside humans here for thousands of years. This is the first hour of a long investigation. Is this the imprint of a town engineered for ice, or the tricks of geology? We begin where the ice yields, because sometimes the past returns in the melt. They found the first proof in the ordinary places, under frost and lichen, half buried where winter had kept secrets. At first, it was a flake of worked stone, edges too regular for natural fracture. Then timber, dark, waterlogged, and preserved where the glacier had sealed it. Closer study revealed tool marks, regular chisel striations, pegged joints, and grooves that read like a builder's alphabet. Radiocarbon samples return ages that astonish, timber that dates back thousands of years earlier than expected for complex engineered sites in this latitude. If these dates hold, the implications are profound. They do not prove a city by themselves, but they turn the question from possibility to probability. Now, conservators work quickly, keeping each splinter, each shaving, because once exposed to air, the fragile record can vanish in days. This is careful work, science, patience, and the clock of climate all racing together. Cold is not emptiness. For those who lived here, ice was a resource, a foundation to build upon, a storehouse to survive the long dark. The marks in the timber tell a story of sled runners and tethered dog teams, of corrals and meat stores dug into permafrost. Animal bones, when read by zooarchaeologists, become life histories. The season an animal was killed, the butchery pattern, the bones chosen for tools. We found traces of dog harness fittings beside carved sled runners. We found wild herbivore antler tips reworked into harpoon heads. In the reconstructions, people prepare blubber for winter, patch skins, and tend to children beside low-walled earth houses warmed by central hearths. This was not a frozen wasteland. It was a place of craft, trade, and routine, ingenuity adapted to ice. To understand a city, you must first understand how its people lived. Here is where theory becomes architecture. Under the ice, the lines were not random. They follow engineered logic. Long, level avenues, raised platforms to keep people above meltwater, and narrow drainage channels carved to direct spring flow away from houses. The timbers are telling a parallel story. Pilings bored into frozen peat, pegged joints that flex rather than snap, and a consistent module of dimensions suggesting a planning standard. Photogrammetry and 3D scanning reconstruct modules piece by piece. When you place those modules side by side, streets align, courtyards repeat, and a city plan emerges, grid-like but adapted to ice, with drainage and workshops at its periphery. Engineers build for conditions. These features read like solutions. Platforms raised on short piles to avoid thaw sink, shallow drains to carry melt, and wooden cribbing to stabilize walls. None of this is proof of civic complexity by itself, but together these signatures are what archaeologists call an engineering imprint, a set of choices that separate accidental scatter from intentional settlement. Ice is a slow book. Its pages are written in layers of snow, dust, and time. To bury architecture, you need movement, sometimes patient, sometimes violent. Over centuries, glaciers creep, surge, and slump. Meltwater reroutes into channels that become rivers of sand. Storms deposit aeolian drifts that can suffocate courtyards. In this region, our models show two forces working together: gradual glacial advance that trapped timber and foundation work, and episodic melt pulses. Years when warm summers and heavy rain push torrents of sediment into low-lying squares. We see the record in cores, alternating bands of organic rich peat sand lenses, and thin ash layers that mark distant fire or volcanic dust. Each band is a year or a season or a catastrophe. Dating those layers turns the narrative from story to timeline. When the floods happened, when the roofs fell under pressure, when humans moved on. This is not a single villain. It's climate, geology, and time. An ensemble that erases slowly, leaving only whispers beneath the ice. The ground gives one kind of record. People give another. Around these hummocks, stories travel by word, by ritual, and by place names that refuse to be erased. Elders speak of houses that once stood where now only white wind moves. They whisper of caches buried before long winters, of pathways that led to water when rivers ran differently. Science found the lines, the people found the meaning. We listen to a woman who remembers her grandmother's story of timbers pulled from the ice and used again in winter roofs. We recorded a hunter's map, routes annotated in memory, not on paper, matching nodes we see in LiDAR. Collaboration changes the work. Field teams adapt excavation strategies after local advice. Conservators follow elders' protocols when handling ancestral objects. This is not archaeology on communities. This is archaeology with them. Their memory is a living archive, sometimes imprecise in years, but precise in place. When material evidence and oral memory converge, the past becomes less a mystery and more a human story. When the ice gives up its secrets, it gives them quickly. Beneath the slow silence of centuries, wood, fabric, and ink have rested in stillness, perfect, untouched. But once exposed, they are suddenly at war with the air. The cold darkness that preserved them vanishes in an instant. Fibers that slept for hundreds of years begin to crack, pigments bleach in the sun. Organic objects, once locked in frost, soften and rot under the open sky. This is why the work becomes a sprint. There's no room for hesitation. Teams move like clockwork. Stabilize first, analyze second. Crates are lined with cold gel packs. Timber, still dripping meltwater, is submerged in refrigerated baths. Fragile paper and woven cloth are wrapped in inert tissue, labeled in careful hands, and carried across snowfields to waiting sleds. Overhead, helicopters beat the air, ferrying boxes to chartered cargo planes. On the ground, tracked vehicles rumble slowly over blue ice. In camp, refrigerated tents glow in the polar twilight, powered by the constant drone of generators. It is a logistical dance in a place that resists all human schedules. Weather can shut it down in minutes. And then there is the other clock, the moral one. Who decides what leaves the ice and what stays buried? Who owns what is found? Who carries the responsibility to protect or return these objects? Around heated tables in mess tents, community elders, scientists, and museum curators talk late into the night. Some artifacts carry sacred weight, others are threads in a larger story. All are pieces of identity. The race is not just to save objects, it is to save relationships between people, the land, and the past, before what was fragile becomes gone forever. We look into the frozen silence and see ourselves. The engineers of the ice built for survival, but they built for tomorrow. Their walls were not just shelter, they were statements of hope against an unforgiving world. And now, as our own climate changes at a pace unseen in human memory, their fate feels like a warning. Did they foresee the end, or did they trust the ice to hold forever? If their city could vanish beneath the glaciers, what will we leave behind, and will it endure?